WNEP proudly presents the premier outdoor show in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, your window to the great outdoors. Tonight on Pennsylvania Outdoor Life.
We'll enjoy a late-season flintlock muzzle-loader deer hunt together with some friends, and we're cooking up some venison jerky, complete with recipes you can use at home.
The powder's in the pan. Pennsylvania Outdoor Life starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life for a Sunday evening. I'm Ken Hunter and I'm here with Dawn Jacobs, and we have a very special guest with us today, Ed Stepansky. And what I like about this is when Ed's here, Jake, I know we're going to have something good to eat before we're all done. So good to see you here.
Well, thank you, Ken.
Well,
thank you
tell
very
us,
much.
what are we going to be doing here
We're
today?
going to be making some jerky, probably one of the most sought-after recipes that any outdoorsman wants to have for his meat, for when he's making his venison or fish or whatever. Jerky is probably one of the most sought-after recipes.
Really a popular one.
Very, very popular. Yep.
Well, before we do the jerky, we have to get some venison first, Jake.
Do you think we're going to be lucky enough?
A couple of us were out trying to do that in that muzzleloader.
Did you fill your tag?
No, I did not.
Did you fill the tag? And neither did I. Thank goodness for my daughters. But we did manage to get out with a bunch of friends. We got out with Ray, one of my buddies from Hunting Buddies, Mark, Jim, Ken and I, and of course, field staff member Dave Ocker on a late-season black powder hunt. Let's take a look.
Flintlock ignition can be long gun, short gun, won't matter. This year you are allowed to use round ball, plus they've allowed the Chronicle bullets, which definitely can make a difference for some of the fellas with the type of gun that they use.
For some reason, I don't imagine them like back in the Civil War times or before that having plastic loaders and.
Hey, this is state of the art. Look at this plastic. I got the wooden one, but I'm going to use the plastic.
That's a reproduction of the original, right?
It's also a microphone, so you can do. If you want to do a little.
So why'd you miss? I don't know. Why'd you miss?
Jake, why'd you miss that thing staying 10 feet away?
Oh, don't worry. You'll be right on top of that.
I didn't have my micro ball starter.
Like you wouldn't do it to me. You're right.
Why don't they insist on fluorescent orange in this? Is it the tradition word again?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, the fact that you're shooting flintlocks, it is more traditional. Granted, the clothing we have on isn't traditional, but I have hunted in my period clothes, and I've dressed in mid-18th century mid-18th century clothing, and gone on a hunt.
And none of that.
And it's perfectly legal. Exactly. Now, they did have a bright orange. They didn't have fluorescent orange.
Ken was the last of us to load his flintlock, and it was off to a post in search of deer. Shoot straight, okay? I know that's hard to do.
With a brand new gun, I have all the excuses I need.
What I want to hear is, stop. Boom. Oh.
Hey, we'll catch up to you in a little bit.
Okay. Weather-wise, so far, it's gone from nasty cold to now today raining like crazy. So it's been a tough season. When you get a lot of rain like that, I mean, dampness is our worst enemy. So you just got to try to do the best you can with it and tolerate it and work with it if you can.
And it should go bang, bang, bang. Boom, boom, boom.
What will go through your mind when you see a deer and prepare to shoot your gun?
If I have time, I like to open my pan and actually check my pan powder and sort of level it off in there a little bit just to try to get the quickest ignition I can, but that's only if you have the time. If not, try to tap your gun lightly to level that powder and get it prepped once that deer is in the range that you feel comfortable with. And everybody has to have their own range. They've got to know their limitation as far as how far can I comfortably make a shot with this gun, especially in damp conditions like today. I just try to let him come as close as he can. Wait until he's nice and calm if you can, and get on him nice and tight. Make sure you're down in those sights, because fellas who shoot a scoped rifle have a tendency not to get down into their sights as far as they should. And take your time, squeeze easy, and hopefully, the prize is yours. Yeah, it's still coming. Oh, there's 2 of them. Yeah, there's a couple of them. I don't think I hit her. I think I caught a tree up here. It was, I thought, behind her.
Dave checked out his shot. followed up the tracks and the scuffed up leaves and eventually came to the conclusion that he missed.
About 50 yards. Guess I need a little more practice.
At the end of the day, the hunting party gathered at the vehicles. Jim arrived with the deer on the back of his ATV. At least one of us was successful.
You guys can't shoot or what?
Right.
Oh yeah, he just wanted to be a hero on
Good show.
He's the only one that scored today, so
You got to
raise your hand, Jim.
You missed, Dave.
Dave missed one,
there's a bunch of shirt
and we had
tails.
what?
Two misfires.
Two misfires.
Right at the top of that little of the clearing.
Now, was it
And Ray had two misfires, and I didn't see a deer. Did you shoot?
I saw the 5 that he saw and couldn't get a shot.
Well, hey, congratulations,
Yes,
man.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
I
We're eating fresh venison.
To me and to many of the fellas who are out here, it's more of a fun season. If you get a deer, that's a bonus. If you don't, oh well, but go have fun. And normally the stories that are told around the fire later deal with the flintlock season a lot, because you remember every little detail of what went wrong. And if you do get one, then it's every little detail of what went right.
What went right.
And that just makes the whole thing worthwhile.
And Jim Neroff, congratulations on your deer. And actually, we were out hunting in the area around the Mill Run Hunting Preserve, and of course, Ray didn't fill his tag, and neither did Mark or Dave.
No.
So we're in good company there, guys.
I'm not relying on you to make jerky, Jake.
That's why these are wrapped in cellophane with with a Garrity's or something on there. What's next? What are we going to do here as we're getting ready?
The first step is obviously to prepare the meat, and venison is probably one of the best cuts to use. But in lieu of that, we're going to use some store-bought roasts.
Right.
This is a
Bottom round?
roast, which makes very good. So just
Open her up.
open her up, and
We're gonna sacrifice to the beef god here.
Yep.
We're gonna take a short break as we get our meat ready to cut. Eddie's gonna take us from the first step all the way to the final step in making jerky when we come back. So stick around. Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, and if you're just joining us, Ed Stepanski is joining Ken and I here on what you're calling one of the most popular recipes or sought-after recipes around, right?
definitely. My friend at the sausage maker in Buffalo, New York, has said that as far as recipes go for sausage and anything that you smoke, jerky is by far the most asked for recipe.
All right,
without a doubt.
what kind of meat do we have here, and how do we go ahead and start cutting this?
Well, like I said before the break, venison is the best meat. It's very lean. It's a perfect texture for jerky. Now, in lieu of that, if you don't have venison, or you're like me and not
Right,
shoot one,
right.
roast is a good way to go. And you could use bottom round, which these are.
Okay.
You get them on sale for under $2 a pound. Eye round roast is another good cut of meat. You don't want to use chuck or something like that with a lot of fat. You know, fat won't keep. You can't keep it around too long. So a nice lean roast,
Like he's got right
like
there?
he's got there,
Okay.
right? Now this is a
What about the grain here?
well, the grain is important. You want to cut with the grain, so you have to find where the grain is, and you can see here that the grain is running from this end to this end. You can see the way that the lines are in the meat, and you want to cut it with the grain,
Okay.
and that'll give you a nice about 3/8 of an inch.
About like that?
Thick. Yep.
Okay.
Now I like to make jerky a little bit thicker than normal. You know, it's a little chewier texture and a little nicer, finished thing. You could go against the grain. You have a much more tender jerky.
Okay.
Different amount. Now, that's a perfect slice. Now you could leave them as slabs like this, or you could cut them then later into strips. So you could then, cut this further right down the center and then make 2 long strips of jerky.
Now,
That's
will
the
Jake-
thickness you're looking at?
About that, yeah, that's
Now,
okay.
will he have to cut his different than the way I'm cutting mine?
Well, it depends on the grain. There again,
Okay.
you just find the grain.
No, I would have thought this is how you're cutting his, but that's not it, right?
Yeah, I think the grains are actually this way, it
Okay.
seems to me. It's, just...
So we want to cut it this
Yep.
way then?
Yep.
Okay.
And just slice them off in like 3/8 inch to, you could go as thick as 5/8 of an inch if you like nice slabs of jerky. Because this will dry out well.
What would you do with that now, Ed?
I would either
Cut it?
leave it like this as a
Okay.
big slab or then cut it further into strips.
Like this?
That's right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Now tell me, I asked you before, why don't we ever hear of pork jerky. What's that? Or even bear. I know some people make bear jerky, but you said it's not really recommended.
Well, with pork, it's not recommended because of trichina.
Okay.
And that's not really a problem with today's pork producers, but it could be. So the best jerky comes from game meats like venison, beef. You know, you could use any lean cut of meat. I would just stay away from pork, and bear is related to pork.
Okay.
In that way.
All right. Are we doing good here?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Now, what about some of these things here? Do we need to be mixing some of this?
Yeah, once we got our meat prepared,
Okay.
and Jake, if you want to finish up that roast
Sure.
there, we can mix the marinade. What's going to happen, it's going to sit in a solution of spices and salt, and going to take on some of those flavors. So then when it dries out, it'll have a nice flavor. And this is a very nice, it's like a hot teriyaki marinade. It's a spicy teriyaki. First thing we're going to start with is the soy sauce.
All right, dump that.
Dump the whole thing right in there, Ken.
In the bowl.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a very simple recipe, and you'll find it's very good. This is my kid's favorite jerky recipe.
I don't know about you. When I make like 7 pounds, I blink my eyes, it's gone.
It's gone, exactly.
You know, the kids absolutely love this
Yep.
stuff.
So this is approximately a cup of soy sauce, and then we're going to put in a half a cup of water. Yep, just clean tap water.
Now, is this one that a lot of people use, or did you make this up?
Well,
or
this
what?
is a variation of a teriyaki and a jerky recipe.
Right.
So I basically took a teriyaki recipe and combined it with a jerky recipe.
Okay.
This is brown sugar, 3/4 of a cup, half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. And there again, you don't have to adhere to this recipe completely. Some people are so preoccupied with making it exactly how the recipe is, and that's not the case. You could adjust if you like it more sweet, put in a little more brown sugar. The next is garlic powder, about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, which is a classic teriyaki spice. And just dissolve that in there. The next is ginger, about 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. And you could substitute fresh spices if you wanted to use fresh grated ginger or fresh crushed garlic. That works fine.
Okay.
And the last is, one of the last of the spices here is black pepper.
So these are all spices.
Yep,
we're
that's
adding
about
now.
2 teaspoons of black pepper. That'll give it a nice, nice taste.
Will this be anything like Jake's chili?
Not quite as hot.
In other words, will I be able to eat this?
Yeah, you'll be able to eat that. That's just table salt, about a teaspoon of table salt, just to make it a little more salty.
Now, the guys that have their deer butchered
what I want
right
to
now.
mention here,
Go ahead.
This is something called cure. All right, it comes under curing salt. It comes under many names. This particular one is called Instacure, or Prague powder is another name for this. You can get this from sausage supply houses. This is an optional ingredient. What it is, it's the same thing they use in processing hot dogs, in processing ham, lunch meat. Any store-bought jerky has this in it. I recommend this if you want to make a product that's going to have an indefinite shelf life. I mean, maybe not indefinite, but it's going to last a lot longer at room temperature. If not, you're going to have to store your jerky in the refrigerator. All right, which is not a big deal. I like using this. I think it adds a special flavor.
About a half a teaspoon?
About a half a teaspoon of cure, and that is an optional ingredient.
Okay.
I recommend it, personally.
We have one final ingredient.
And here's the final ingredient, Jake's favorite, which is cayenne pepper.
All right, we'll just put that right over there.
No, throw it in there. Come on.
This is about 2 teaspoons. You could go as high as 6.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Right.
I like it a little spicy.
Good thing I'm mixing over here.
I love that with black. I love more black powder, more
Yep.
cayenne. I'm a
Yep.
hot person like that. So.
Well, you can make it hot to your taste. And there again, you could experiment with this recipe. I personally like it a lot. I think it's one of my favorite jerky recipes. Now, the way we're going to marinate this, we want the marinade to get all around and infuse inside the meat.
Okay.
So we're going to put the meat inside of a Ziploc bag.
Okay. Now, are these okay? Should
Yeah,
they
they're
be thinner?
fine.
They're okay?
Well, you could, it's really up to your personal taste. I personally like them a little on the thick side.
Okay.
You could make them as thin and as thick as you like.
Okay.
They'll dry out just fine.
Should we split this in half, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, this recipe will cure up
want me
to...
to put my,
Yep. Put some of that in there, Ken. This will cure up to about 5 pounds of meat.
Okay.
So if you're going to do more than 5 pounds in one batch, you want to make, double it. Or,
Okay.
Yep.
And they're ready to be poured in there.
Excellent.
Let me ask you, what if you can't get to it right away? Can you just keep it in the refrigerator long?
I've kept it up to 4 days.
Yeah.
Yep. And it really takes on a nice flavor then. It's a little saltier, obviously, but I don't mind.
Do you want to give him a hand? He
Sure.
can't pour, he can't mix. Sheila says he
you know.
can't even boil water,
Mixing, oh, we just dump some of that right in there.
Dump some of this right in there.
Whoa.
And then we're going to dump some
Okay.
in this one.
Okay. Now, at this point, we have your marinade mix in here. We're going to stick them in a refrigerator. Magic of Television, when we come back, they'll be ready to be made into jerky. We'll have that information. Again, for the audience, do you want to give them on their screen? They're going to see the recipe. Do you want to give them the recipe there?
Sure.
Okay, and when he's done giving us the recipe, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. So, Eddie, what is the recipe?
Yes, this is a spicy teriyaki jerky. Use 1 cup of soy sauce, half a cup of water, half a cup of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of curing salt, optional of course, and 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper or to taste.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. Well, Ed, we're about ready now for the final phase, I guess, and that's the smoking phase of this.
Right.
So why don't you show us what's next here?
Sure. Now this is a smoker made by the sausage maker in Buffalo, New York. It's an electric smoker. It works very well. And you simply take the meat that we've cured. You can see it took on a nice color of the marinade.
Now this obviously isn't.
No, we're not going to smoke it.
We're just demonstrating here,
but
right?
how this works is you put it in here, and there's several racks. There's a heating element on the bottom with a sawdust pan.
What's the wood you're using?
That's hickory sawdust. And you don't want to use chips or pieces because it'll burn up too fast.
Okay.
This is nice and packed dense.
You
and
don't
just
dampen that or
smolder.
anything?
Yeah, a little water on top.
Little water?
Yep. And the heating element will create some smoke. And the biggest process, the biggest part of this is dehydrating it. You know, you're going to draw the moisture out of that meat really slow. There's a little thermometer here in the door. We're going to do it at about 110 degrees.
All right. Well, listen, a lot of people don't have one of these smokers.
Right.
And there's another way of doing this without one, but we're going to go to people and places first. When we come back, Jake's going to show us another way of doing it.
We'll begin our look at people and places with 2 successful snowshoe rabbit hunters. David Phillips of Kingston and Lou Lapatina of Drums are seen here with the 2 snowshoes they took during the week-long season here in PA. These guys were hunting in the Thornhurst area. Paul Cobb of Hot Bottom is seen here with 2 future hunters and the bear he shot on the opening day of the season. Seen here with Paul are his 2 grandchildren, 10-year-old Alexandria Lynn and 5-year-old Adam Lynn. Oh yeah, and the trophy bear, it weighed 409 pounds. Eric Sunderland of Cogan Station is seen here with the 325-pound black bear he shot this past season. Eric was hunting on his property in Linden on the last day of the season. Standing with Eric is his grandfather, 90-year-old John Dixon. Congratulations to both of you guys. We'll turn our attention to some deer photos. 15-year-old Eric Perlock of West Wyoming scored with this 8-point buck in December. Eric was hunting with his father, Joe Perlock, and his friends, Joe and Billy Ganna in Susquehanna County, when he scored on the opening day. Nice going, Eric. Now take a look at this 14-point trophy buck taken by Randy Loffer of Lehighton. Randy tells us he shot this monster on the 2nd Tuesday of the rifle season, and he was hunting in Lehigh County. This rack sported a 24-inch outside spread. Wow. The next photo features Michael Antonacci of Music. Michael is seen here with the 8-point buck he shot during the rifle season while hunting in the Springbrook area of Lackawanna County. In our final photo for tonight, we'll see the smile of Mark Libersky of Exeter. Mark was hunting with his father and uncles in Whitehaven when this 8-pointer made a bad decision and presented Mark with the shot. Nice going, Mark. And with this happy hunter, we'll wrap up this week's edition of Pennsylvania People and Places. Hey, congratulations to Mark and Eric and all those other guys, Terry, everybody from People and Places. They got venison. What's wrong with us?
I don't know. We have to use store-bought meat.
But this really looks good now. It's been marinating. If I don't have a smoker at home, how do I dry my venison out?
You could still make really good venison in your oven.
Okay.
You know, just using your oven and an oven rack like this one here. You simply use round toothpicks and take the slice of meat and stick a toothpick through the end and then hang it right between the oven racks. And you could hang a lot of meat on there. Just don't let them touch so they have airflow between them.
And now that I've done that, how long and what do I have to watch for? Any telltale signs?
Well, put your oven on the lowest possible temperature it could operate. Some go down as low as 200. Some will even go lower than that.
Okay.
Leave the door slightly ajar to let the moisture escape, and you can leave it in there from 12 to 15 hours.
Okay, how do you know when it's done, though, Ed?
It'll be dry. You know, what you want to actually do is dehydrate. You want to take out 3/4 of the water in this meat. So 4 pounds of meat is going to make 1 pound of jerky. So it's going to be a long process. You can't speed it along.
Now, I see you brought liquid smoke. I do like the taste of smoke. How do you use that stuff?
Well, if you're not using a smoker, you could use hickory smoke. This is a natural product. It's not a chemical. It's made from actual hickory smoke. And you just add, you know, half to a teaspoon of liquid smoke to the marinade recipe that we gave. Marinate the meat, and you'll have a smoke flavor in your meat.
Excellent. Now, you made some for us to try.
Yes, I did.
The magic of television is going to say, we're tasting jerky in a couple of minutes. Stick around. We're going to take a short break. We're going to wrap things up, plus the recipe again when we come back. Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, and what we're looking at, Eddie, is your special recipe, right? Spicy teriyaki jerky?
That's right. There's all the ingredients.
Can they vary off of that back and forth?
Sure. You could add as much hot pepper as you'd like, much cayenne to make it as spicy as your taste. Add a little more brown sugar if you'd like, a little more salt if you like saltier things.
And if they don't get it now, where is this going to be for a while?
WNEP.com.
Okay, on our website.
That's right.
Excellent. Now, this is what I've been waiting for, man. The half hour
This
of
is it.
smelling this thing.
Now, this is some jerky that I made yesterday, and it's very dry. You can see it's pliable, though. It should tear and not snap. You know, it should be about that dry.
Oh, my goodness. This is that recipe?
This is the spicy
Delicious.
teriyaki.
I love it.
Oh, is this venison?
No, that's beef.
Beef?
Yep.
Very good.
Now, if you make that, how do you store it so it won't go bad?
Well, the best way is just in a paper bag at room temperature. You could put it in a plastic bag in the refrigerator. In a jar, it'll keep for days. Now, if you use Cure, like I mentioned earlier, it'll keep for a long time.
The stuff that you buy in the store usually has Cure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That explains why it's out there.
That's right. And there are some, there's one called Morton Tender Quick, which is in your supermarket.
Right.
You could use that. But it'll keep for a long time. Usually it's not around that long, though. I mean, if your house is like mine, it's gone in a week.
It's gone.
But
let's not tell anybody else in the building that we made this, okay? This is.
I'm sure the crew will eat this up.
They'll be out as soon as we're done here.
Okay, more tickets to give away.
Reminder, we're still looking for postcards for our barrel, and next week we'll have more information on both of those expos. Who's this lucky winner?
Adam Denko.
Oh, you get the easy
White
names.
Haven.
Oh, look
You're
at that.
supposed to have the hard ones.
And because he's one of those shinny, easy to read kind of guys, right? Unbelievable. Eddie, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
It was a lot of fun.
We enjoy this. I know the popularity of jerky. I know I'm making some as soon as I get home.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, have a good week.
Hey, everybody else. have a
Okay,
nice week.
for everybody here at Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, enjoy the great outdoors. That's it for now. Good night.
So long.
Pennsylvania Outdoor Life is a local presentation of WNEP TV. We're proud to serve northeastern and central Pennsylvania.
Be safe.